The day. A pilot stole death's thunder. March 8. 1944. RAF Woodbridge, Suffolk, England. Flight Lieutenant Michael Reynolds grips his binoculars, his eyes locked on the sky as a B-17G Flying Fortress limps toward the emergency strip, two engines belching smoke. The bomber is too low, too fast. Its landing gear hangs at a sickening angle, one tire shredded to ribbons. Reynolds has seen dozens of crippled bombers stagger home, but this one is different. Standard approach speed is 110 miles per hour. This beast is screaming in at 140, maybe 150. Instead of a smooth descent, it's coming in flat, like a bullet aimed at the runway itself. Reynolds snatches the radio, his voice tight with urgency. Asterisk. Fortress on approach. You're too fast. Pull up and go around. Asterisk silence. The bomber crosses the threshold at terrifying speed. Reynolds braces. This is going to be a disaster. The gear will collapse. The plane will cartwheel. The fuel tanks will explode. Then, the impossible happens. At the last possible second, the pilot snaps the throttles back, jerks the yoke hard into his gut, and deliberately stalls the bomber 20 feet above the tarmac. The B-17 drops like a stone asterisk and slams onto the runway with a thunderous impact asterisk. The landing gear holds. The plane rolls to a stop. Reynolds lowers his binoculars, hands shaking. What he just witnessed, what every controller in England will soon call the times power off stall landing times, isn't suicide. It's salvation. And it's about to rewrite the rules of survival for hundreds of damaged bombers. But first, one pilot must convince the entire Army Air Forces that the most reckless move in aviation is actually the smartest. By early 1944, the skies over Europe are a slaughterhouse. The U.S. 8th Air Force is sending over 1,000 heavy bombers into battle every day, each carrying 10 men and 8,000 pounds of explosives. The losses are staggering. Between January and May 1,944, the 8th loses over 800 B-17 seconds and B-24 seconds to enemy fire. But the deadliest threat isn't flak or fighters. It's the landing. For every bomber shot down over Germany, 2 or 3 make it back to England so mangled that standard landing procedures are suicide. The B-17G is a marvel of engineering, a flying fortress with 1,200 horsepower engines, 13 machine guns, and the ability to take a beating. But landing one with severed hydraulics, shredded tires, or missing control surfaces, that's a different nightmare. The problem is the times approach asterisk. Standard procedure demands a slow, precise descent at 110 miles per hour, a gentle flare, and a soft touchdown at 90 miles per hour. But damaged bombers don't have the luxury of precision. Hydraulics fail, engines sputter, wings warp. And in the 60 to 90 seconds it takes to land conventionally, the aircraft can and often does come apart. Between November 1943 and February 1944, RAF Woodbridge alone records 17 catastrophic landing accidents. Crews who survived missions over Berlin die on English soil. The pattern is clear. The very procedures meant to save lives are killing them. Then, in February 1944, a 26-year-old captain named Howard Buie decides he's seen enough. A combat veteran with 18 missions over Germany, Buie has watched his friends die in the air, only to perish in avoidable crashes back home. His theory is simple. The long, controlled approach is the problem. What if, instead of trying to nurse a dying plane down slowly, You times it at the runway, stalled it on purpose, and let it fall the last 20 feet in a way that times guaranteed times it would stay down. On February 23rd, Buie takes a battered training B-17 into the skies over Suffolk and puts his theory to the test. First attempt, he pulls the throttles at 200 feet. The bomber plummets. Recovery is a near miss. Second try, 100 feet. Still too high. Third, 50 feet. Closer, but the drop is brutal. Fourth, 30 feet. The plane stalls, drops, and Buie pulls it out just 10 feet above the runway. His co-pilot, white-knuckled, mutters, asterisk. You're either the craziest man alive or the smartest. Asterisk. Buie grins. Asterisk. Let's find out. Asterisk. On the fifth attempt, he gets it right. Coming in at 140 miles per hour, he cuts all 4 throttles at 20 feet and yanks the yoke back. The B-17's wings stall. The plane falls straight down, level, in total control, and times onto the runway, hard enough to rattle the control tower. The gear holds. The plane stops in under 2,000 feet. The technique is born. Over the next 3 days, Buie refines it. The sweet spot? 145 miles per hour on approach. All throttles cut at once. A hard yoke pull at 20 feet. The stall drops the bomber like a rock. But the impact, rough as it is survivable. No bouncing, no cartwheels, no second chances. Just times down, asterisk. On February 28th, Buie demonstrates it for his squadron commander, Lieutenant Colonel Creer. Creer watches, stunned, then demands, asterisk. Do it again. This time, I'm coming with you. Asterisk! The second demonstration seals it. Creer sends Buie's findings up the chain. Skepticism is fierce. Stalling a bomber on final approach? That's what kills pilots. But the numbers don't lie. Landing accidents are slaughtering crews. On March 5th, Buie is cleared to demonstrate the technique to senior officers. Over the next 2 weeks, he performs the maneuver 31 times, every one a success. On March 19th, Bomber Command issues Technical Order 123, authorizing the times power-off stall landing times for emergency use. 3 days later, a B-17 with blown tires and dead hydraulics uses it at Woodbridge and walks away. The results are staggering. Between March and June 1944, Woodbridge records 127 emergency landings using Buie's technique. 119 are successful. Crew casualties plummet by 60%. The B-24 Liberator, P-47 Thunderbolt, and even British Lancasters adapt to variations. German intelligence notices captured crews now say they tried times to make it home, because they knew they had a fighting chance. Buie, awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross in May 1944, finishes his combat tour and returns to the U.S., where he trains hundreds of new pilots in the technique. He retires a lieutenant colonel, dies in 1989, and is remembered by B-17 veterans as the man who time stole their deaths from them asterisk. The legacy? Between 1,944 and 1,945, over 2,400 damaged bombers attempt emergency landings at Woodbridge, Manston, and Carnaby. Roughly 40% use Buie's method, saving an estimated 500 to 800 airmen. The lesson is clear. When the rules no longer fit the reality, the brave rewrite them. Today, Woodbridge's runway is a civilian airfield, a plaque its only memorial to the men who flew in too fast, too broken, and too stubborn to die. And when a B-17 veteran stands there, he remembers the day a captain proved that sometimes the only way to survive is to times do the unthinkable asterisk. Because the most dangerous thing in a crisis isn't breaking the rules, it's following them to the grave.